The government is confident and comfortable with its victory at the elections. Posters proclaiming the election win and thanking voters are ubiquitous on the streets, and in their offices, government ministers are effusive in their support of the president. I spoke with Minister Dilan Perera to ask his opinion on what President Rajapaksas should focus on delivering during his next term. Just days ago, we celebrated Independence Day as a united country for the first time in about 30-odd years, during which the recently re-elected President Mahinda Rajapaksa identified his main goal to be uniting all the communities of the country. Mr. Minister, what do you think will be his first steps towards achieving that goal?
I think his first step is to, as he very correctly said, soon after the election victory, to show the people that he is the president not only for the people who voted for him, but also to the people that he would not vote for him. So the first statement that came out from him was in the right direction. He said, I am the president for the people who voted for me and also for the people who did not vote for me. And of course, secondly, his speech on Independence Day, and of course his speech in Russia. They are all speeches that are in the right direction. And even in Russia, what he has said is that even though he was forced to go for a war and defeat the terrorists, it was the terrorists who wanted the war, not that he went into war. And he has said his next aim is to follow the philosophy of the Lumumba University, which is to bring people together. So I think President Rajapaksa has got a very clear mandate from all the people in this country to move forward. But
how do you think he plans to win over those who didn't vote for him? What does he plan to do?
President Rajapaksa, even after the victory, he has not stopped all the development work in the north and the east. Development work is going at a rate. Of course, the result, especially in the north and the east has given a message to people in government that development work and improving infrastructure is not the only thing that the people want. They want development, they are very thankful for that. They want infrastructure to be developed, they are very thankful, but they also want to be part and parcel of decision making in government. For that to happen, President Rajapaksa's second term in office will have to focus more in the direction of power sharing mechanisms in political decision making.
Now you mentioned development. Another one of President Rajapaksa's goals is to develop the country's economy, which has, on top of 3 decades of war, just received another blow with the loss of the GSP+. Now, what does this mean for Sri Lanka's economy?
2009, of course, the entire world knows that there was a huge economic recession in the world, and still President Rajapaksa's government managed to sort of manage the economy well, so that we didn't go to the minus levels of economic growth. We managed to come close upon to 4%. If you could get GSP plus back again, it's going to be good. But even with punches like the GSP plus being punched left, right and center against us, still we have managed to move on with the economy. And one thing about the GSP plus is, just because we have lost GSP plus, that doesn't mean that we have lost GSP. GSP remains. Only the plus has been taken off. And we are still in the process of trying to see whether we can add the plus also into GSP in the near future.
Reports say that GSP Plus was denied on the basis of human rights violations. What does this mean for the country's international image?
Well, this story of human rights violations is a story that has been coming against this government from the day that we started the war against the terrorists. It's a known fact that there were some foreign countries that did not want terrorism to be militarily crushed, because one way some of these countries could have interfered into the affairs of this country was to have the terrorists going, because that was the only way that they could come into this country by way of experts in conflict resolution and by way of trying to help up with pre-conflict situations, conflict situations, post-conflict situations, and so on and so forth. But President Rajapaksa has shown to the entire world that even though he is not an expert who has studied in the halls inside the Oxford or the Cambridge studying conflict resolution courses, that he has shown practically that the conflict in Sri Lanka can be resolved in our own way. Our own way, the first step was to defeat terrorism, which he has done. Nobody in this country or in the whole world ever thought that this terrorist menace could be destroyed. It has been destroyed. So he has found a Sri Lankan way of destroying terrorism. And he is now in the process of trying to evolve a Sri Lankan model of trying to resolve the conflict that we have. He's now trying to see and address the root causes of terrorism.
Okay. Now, one thing political analysts have pointed out as a priority issue, or should be a priority issue, is the rule of law, which encompasses everything from media freedom to the aforementioned human rights violations and preventing them, and so on. How do you feel that the government should address this issue of rule of law?
Well, you know, people have forgotten the fact that when President Rajapaksas took over office, there was no rule of law in the north and the east. There were tiger courts, there were tiger police stations, there were tiger identity cards in the north and the east. So there was no rule of law at all in those areas. President Rajapaksas became president in a country where there was a de facto separate state in the north and the east. People have forgotten this. So this is the president who brought back the rule of law into the north and the east. This is the president who brought back rule of law into the entire country. So I don't know how people can say there is no rule of law under this president. So rule of law has come back to Sri Lanka, and of course there are grey areas that have to be addressed, and those grey areas will have to be addressed with focusing a lot of attention to power sharing mechanisms.
Okay, can you elaborate on that power sharing mechanism?
Yeah, I have been one person who has categorically always said and will say and is still saying that we have to move forward to a situation of 13 plus. That 13 plus can come in way of 13 plus 1 or 13 minus 1 plus 2. That we have to have discussions and see, but ultimate result has to be 13 plus. So 13 plus is the way out. Way forward, way out of this problem is 13 plus, the way forward is 13 plus, and how 13 plus is going to come into being is something that we have to all discuss. It has to be an inclusive process.
And finally, Mr. Minister, what do you identify to be the most important issues that the government must look into in the next 6 years?
Well, number one, to evolve a Sri Lankan model of a political solution to the ethnic crisis, like the way that we evolved and found a Sri Lankan model to defeat terrorism. Number two, to evolve a political solution to ethnic crisis. Number three is also to evolve a political solution based on power sharing mechanisms. According to me, 1, 2, 3, all has to be evolve a political solution based on power sharing mechanisms.
All the best, Mr. Minister.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining. We're going in for a break right now, but we'll be back with the opposition side of the story. Stay with us.